Hi, welcome to Career Development 1, Mini Lecture 5. The purpose of this mini lecture is to discuss Gottfredson's theory of circumscription and compromise. So this is another developmental theory like Super's theory that we discussed last week. This is really about process versus event. So we're looking at lifespan versus making a decision on environment and fit. So this came out of the early 80s. It was developed throughout the 90s and kind of expanded upon in the early 2000s. Some major points to keep in mind here. This theory aims to explain individuals' vocational expectations by sex, race, socioeconomic background. So we're really looking at the social self versus the psychological self. So we're looking at one's view of self in the greater culture or greater society versus one's interests or values. And this is really about process of elimination for children as they grow and get to know themselves and kind of their place in the world. So how does this happen? So Gottfredson talks about these 4 developmental processes. This is a very word-heavy slide. Feel free to just take a screenshot or to look away and just listen. The first process here is cognitive growth. The idea that children narrow their options and make decisions that affect their career choice long before they're really able to, before they can really conceptualize what that means. 2 is the idea of self-creation. This is related to nature versus nurture. So many characteristics are biologically based, embedded within us, but become traits based on what we experience in the world. The third is circumscription. So how children narrow the zone of acceptable alternatives. I think of this as children kind of drawing a boundary around what they can and can't do. Within this, there are 4 stages. Stage 1, age 3 to 5. This is when kids start to orient to size and power. So adult is big, I am little. They're making these judgments in that way. Stage 2, age 6 to 8, is when kids start to begin to notice gender roles and incorporate this into their vocational aspiration. Stage 3, age 9 to 13, this is the orientation to social valuation, prestige, and status. So this is really about wanting to belong. Stage 4 is age 14 plus. And this is when Gottfredson says that kids start to develop an orientation to their unique self. So their interests, their values, abilities, all of this is considered. So stages 1 through 3, it's kind of about eliminating what won't be possible. And stage 4 is about looking at what might be possible. And this leads to the 4th process, which is compromise. And compromise is when adolescents start to think concretely about their jobs. This includes looking at their assigned sex, prestige, and field of interest when considering all of this. This is when less attractive options are considered, and most will accept good enough or not too bad jobs based on what's accessible to them. So in practice, we want to be asking our clients what they know about themselves. What have they learned was possible or not possible in their life? We want to know where the client has compromised in choosing jobs. We want to know what the client hasn't done in the past and why. So both in jobs that they may have rejected or jobs that they would have never considered. So in closing, a couple of thoughts here. This is a fairly intuitive theory, especially for us as therapists. We are good at conceptualizing developmental phases. But because this is so heavily focused on childhood, it can be difficult to measure these early childhood constructs. We talk as therapists with our clients a lot about what was felt as a child, but this is really talking about cognition. There's limited language around sex and gender. It doesn't take into account intersectionality. So for you to consider, what else might be limiting about this theory? Do you like this theory? Why or why not? And what might you be able to take from this theory, even if you don't like this theory? Is there anything in there that you might like to take as you conceptualize how you will be working with clients around career? Let me know if anything needs to be clarified. Thanks for watching.